talk really falls into line with my talk. So I'm Bradley Meck. I work for NodeSource, and I'm going to be talking about kind of what Core is doing to help get to this state where you have a single application you can distribute. I'm not going to talk about UIs because we're just talking about the module loader and what's going to happen to it. Okay, this is a fairly old topic, but it's a very hot topic. So if you follow Node forward on GitHub, there are some issues you can open up about what you think that Node should be doing in the future. And one that came up is sending out single executable binaries to distribute to your coworkers, your friends, your family. One of the great things that we had at the browser is the ability to distribute applications to everyone, to your grandmother, to children, and we gave that up for Node. And so we want to bring that back somehow. And so there have been projects before that have tried to do this. You'll see mine at the bottom, Noda, but we talked about Atom Shell, we've talked about Node WebKit, and these are ways to get back the power of being able to give your application to everyone. And that's something I feel is very important, to be able to supply everybody your application, not just developers. So what are we talking about when we're talking about the archive loader, is what I'm going to call it. We're talking about the ability, essentially, to have what Java has with jar files. Now, people may dislike Java as a whole, but their ability to distribute applications is currently much better than Node. Sysadmins will know this, and they also have the extra advantage that very few of their dependencies are binary. So we took a C++ approach to making native modules. And that makes distribution even harder for us than Java. There are a few things in other applications that could cause problems, but we're just going to talk about how we can distribute this. So I can't see my slides, so we're going to, okay. So what is the archive loader doing? We're using a addition to require. So currently, the state of require is it's a frozen API in Node. Me, Trevor Norris, and TJ Fontaine have basically come to agreement that one thing needs to be added at least, and that's going to be the ability to load big zip files, essentially, in order to be able to distribute things as a single file. There is some controversy in Core about changing require at all, but we can also monkey patch it for now. And so, what are we going to change? We're going to make zip files with their own extension. For now, it's going to be .noda, standing for Node Archive. It's going to be a monkey patch at least until 0.14, which we don't even know when 0.12 is coming out. Hopefully soon. Realistically, it should be soon. But the monkey patch will need to be loaded early into applications if you're going to test it, and we'll talk about a few other things. So, why did we choose zip files? Pretty much everybody else is doing it, and they support what we need. Java does it. Mac distributes things as zip files. A .dmg is similar to what we're doing. It's just a convention on how to set up your zip files and what files need to be present. So they're easy to create. Even if you're absolutely new to how to work a computer, you can right-click things on Windows, go to compress folder, and it'll turn it into a zip file. That's the ease we want to achieve. We don't want people editing crazy like meta INF files, which you have to do in Java, making p-lists like you have to do for Mac. We want this to be as simple as possible. And there were some issues raised in Node Forward about, oh, zip files don't support this or that. They actually support a lot of advanced features. So symlinks, so all of your crazy hooks and npm things where you're installing binary executables, they still work. It's got a trailing directory, which means you can make a self-extracting executable or a self-loading executable with it. We're opting for self-loading. So we're not going to extract your application to disk by default. And compression. Compression is nice, especially if you're distributing large things, you know, a couple hundred megs worth of assets or something like that. Gets really ugly if you don't have any sort of compression. And hard links fall into the same category. We can take any two files that are the same content and reduce it to a single file. And just have two file names instead of all the content. So, let's see. This is going to break a couple things if you do things that are kind of anti-patterns already. It doesn't break much, and we're going to show some examples of what it does break. If you're in an archive, trying to read the directory you're in won't work because it's in memory. So file system operations, trying to read a file directly are not going to work. Child processes, you can't spawn a bash executable with the current working directory as something inside of your archive. It won't make sense to the operating system. And finally, we don't want you to nest archives. These are a distribution format. They're not meant to be nested over and over again. So you can imagine what happens if you keep having to uncompress archive after archive. It'll slow down and actually get bigger than it would if you just made one. So, resources. The solution to all those problems is a concept present in pretty much any sort of executable distribution system out there called resources. They've been in Windows since Windows 95, and they're in Java, they're in various other things like bundler and gems have a concept of resources. The only real application environment where this isn't true is Python, which they completely shimmed the file system, which causes some crazy bugs, and that's the link to the struggles. It's just pages and pages of how you have to kind of fix it. But Fedora kind of is in agreement, so is Trevor, about trying to shim file system and make it actually transparent is horribly hard. We're not going to be able to do it and have people actually satisfied. So the resources API is pretty small. We want to keep it small. We want to keep it tight. So there are 3 forms of functions and their sync counterparts. So you can list what resources are in a path. So if you're in an archive, you can list what's currently around the file you're executing. You can read files relative to where you are, just like require. And you can create streams for files in case you need a streams API. It has some quirks with what we made in core. There's going to be only on Windows a very strange bug where they have the ability to share state between DLLs. Don't do that either way, but it is a bug that we want to keep track of. And the file descriptor needs to stay open for the duration of your entire application. And I can go into more detail on that later if people actually have questions. And you need to compile before your distribution. Whereas right now, when we distribute code around, we can run npm rebuild. these are already packaged together. You would have to extract it, run rebuild again, and put it back into an archive. The good thing, though, is we can make fat binaries that work on all systems. We just don't have the tools yet. Whew. Okay. Let's try some demos really quick to show things working. If I can pull this over. I'm no good without being able to see this. So, can people see that? Yes, yes. Okay, I'm coding blind here because I can't see it. So which directory did I end up in? So we're in the loader's code, actually. We've got some tests and things, and so we can do examples. Let's see. Probably. Is that whew. So we got debug star node. We have HTTP server.js. So porting things generally is going to require maybe 1 to 2 line fixes. I chose a static HTTP server because it's one of the things people were worried about when we first broke into this. And so it shows you all this crazy text because we've got debugging on, and then at the bottom, it actually loads up and is running. Without mirroring, I don't really want to try to curl. What is it? We got 54517. Is that right? Oh, because I stopped it. Sure. Okay. It's crazy. Okay, so we're just going to run it in the background. What number do I have now?
54525.
That? Yay. So it's loading actually the current working directory. It's not loading the stuff from the archive just because of how that's the application working. It spawns a static web server for your current working directory. So you can see it's loading things like that. And I want to show you the amount of changes we had to do for that. So I set up a little script that will run and grab all the references. So we have, amongst all the examples, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines we had to change. I think almost all of that was in HTTP server. Yeah. And you can see they kind of map exactly 1 to 1. So read file becomes read resource, read dir becomes list resources, and exist becomes resource exists. So it's pretty simple changes that make things work in these archives. But we get back the power to distribute things to everyone. And that's something that I will gladly change 6 lines for. The other one we have really set up for a demo is a native module using 0MQ. So when we're using native modules, what's going to happen is it extracts the file onto disk, loads it via the OS, and then removes it immediately. This is how pretty much everybody does it, which is pretty much a theme. So node. Okay. Well, I did something wrong. Image not found. ZMQ3. Oh, so I'm using Charlie Robbins' laptop because mine doesn't work with the AV system, and he doesn't have the system binary for ZMQ, but it works. So I'm actually going to see if I can figure this out. Oh my goodness. How do I get this back to normal? Yeah. I can't get the mouse to that screen. It's very confused. I can get there. Oh my goodness. Oh, what is this? Huh. Why can't I get the mouse over there? Sure. I've been hitting Shift Command F. It just is decided. Okay, we're just going to kill it entirely. I don't even know. Okay, we got something back. So what I want to do, and this is going to have to be a little bit quick, is run a demo of making one. If I can change the slide. So I want somebody to name an NPM module which they just want to see loaded from the archive loader really quick, if that's possible. LoDash? Okay. We can do LoDash. I think the terminal might get stuck again, but we'll do LoDash. Okay. So once again, we're going kind of blind. Okay. So we're in examples. We want npm pack LoDash. This is just going to download it from the npm registry. And what version did we end up with? 241. Okay. So we need to change it from a tar into a zip file. So that run, I keep having to check it, and it feels so weird without mirroring. So it ran, and then there's going to be a package folder here, and I just want to print this out. Let's go with less, not. So we should have LoDash. Looks all right. So basically we've just got the situation where we have our module extracted onto disk like it would be in the source folder. So we're going to cd back. Pretty much every Unix nowadays comes with the command zip, and -y says please include symlinks. Okay, no, that's fine. I need help with this because I can't see. It's stressful. So, let's see, we got that. And we're going to be making LoDash.noda. And that's coming from package, which is what we extracted. So that's going to be the entirety of how we make an archive. Is this one command, or if you've got Finder or Explorer open, right-click compress, and it should just create a file. You'll see how much it's compressed things, generally not too much for Node because Node files tend to be kind of small. If you have big assets, it gets a little bit better. And so I was talking about we need to load up the bootstrap right now. since we're doing monkey patching. And the bootstrap is just going to change what's in require.extensions for now. We will be making probably a distribution of Node that you can download with this installed already. It's just not landing into core because it's too big of a change. And so we called that LoDash.Noda, right? And there's LoDash being loaded from memory. So this may not seem like much or a groundbreaking thing, but I love teaching kids, but they hate using the command line. They hate it with a passion. I want everybody to be able to see what we make as Node developers. I want Johnny 5 to be just something you can hand to anybody, and they just build robots immediately. I want people to be able to have their web servers, just like the talk before us, and just be able to pass them on a single file at a time. But it's all coming together. As I said, it's going to be a monkey patch for a while, probably until 14. Whew. But, so, the future. I talked briefly with Lyft Security. We're talking about adding hardware encryption and code signing to these things. So one of the big features that you get in other platforms when you make archives is the ability to protect your source code. And we want that available. We want you to be able to say, this archive should only run on my machine. If anybody else grabs it, they won't have the right hardware encryption key for it to work. We want you to be able to do code signing so you can check things into the Windows Store without problems. Basically, we want to make distribution as easy as we can, and single executables. So if you know how a single executable works, it's just appending a zip file on the end of an executable file. So I actually am coding the patch right now for this, but you will just concat node and that Noda archive we made, and it'll run your main file for you. So with that, are there any questions? No? Oh. Yes. So under my GitHub, there's something, and I can distribute the link. It's under github.com Meck Noda-loader. I think it's set to private right now, but I can make it public in 30 seconds.